So as we start our second semester, we're going to continue where we left off working with systems of equations. Now, ignore what I have kind of right here. It's not DOK3, it's level 3. I meant level 3. These are older notes, sorry. All right, so we're talking about level 3 type of problems. Up to this point, all I've been doing is giving you a system and asking you to make a decision as to which method, substitution, elimination, or elimination with multiplication, you would use to solve it, which is great if you're given the system, but oftentimes you're going to need to create the system in addition to being able to solve it. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this unit. We're going to be looking at saying, all right, here's a situation, here's a scenario, and it can be represented with a system of equations. How do I build that system so I can solve it to get my answer? And what I'd like to do is just give you kind of a set of steps to follow. And here is this scenario here. Justin going into buying jeans and t-shirts, right? This is going to be the same throughout. So if you want to put this part over here, this description, on the left-hand side of your page and then put the notes on the right, that might be helpful because this isn't going to change. The slide, I'm going to go from slide to slide, but this part here, this whole thing here is going to remain the same. So that's going to be constant. You don't have to rewrite this every time. You have to write it once. So if you want to hit pause now just to write this down, feel free. When you're doing, the first thing you should always do when you're talking about creating a system of equations is figuring out, well, what do the variables x and y represent in this situation? And very often, all you have to really do is look at the actual question in the problem. And the actual question is right here. How many jeans and how many t-shirts did he buy? Look, there's the question mark. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say that my x is going to represent the number of jeans and my y is going to represent the number of t-shirts. I don't think that this is a small thing to do. I think this is an important thing to do because that would allow you to say, okay, now I know how I have to be thinking about all the rest of the information that this problem gives me. So having that, and don't just say x is equal to jeans and y is equal to t-shirts. Specifically, it's the number of jeans, not the cost of the jeans. We know the cost of the jeans, but organize the information that you have, and having like a clearly defined, specifically defined values for your variables is important. Right? So step one is, what do the variables x and y represent in this situation? And usually, if you look at the question, and that's usually the last thing that they ask, that's good. That's going to help you out. So step two is, once we kind of have this highlighted, right? We already know that, right? Do we have any totals? Every time we're making these systems of equations, we're going to have something on the another side of an equal sign, right? What is it that we're looking like? Do we have any totals? Do we have any things that represent the result of doing something, right? And if we look at this scenario here, this second to last, or this first part of the last sentence actually, we know that Justin spends $100 on 4 items. Right? So 4 is going to represent the number of items purchased. We know he bought 4 items. And we know it costs him $100 to spend on that. Right? So we know that x and y represent jeans and t-shirts. We know that 4 is the total number of jeans and or t-shirts that he bought, I don't know, some combination thereof, and he spent $100 doing that. Well, how did he spend $100? Well, we know that we've accounted for this, right? We had already accounted for what x and y represent. We've got these 2 other bits of information here. Jeans cost 40 and t-shirts cost 20. Those are going to be coefficients for our variables. So, and when we look at that, we say, all right, well, $40 is cost per pair of jeans, and $20 is going to be the cost of a t-shirt. Those are going to be coefficients at some point in at least one of the equations, right? If we're calling X number of jeans and Y number of t-shirts, at some point to get to $100, we're going to multiply one of those by 40 and one of those by 20, right? So we've established like what everything, all the information that we have in this problem, what role it all plays, right? So just going to now where we can start building our system, we can start taking all this stuff and saying, okay, well, we know that we've got all this stuff pulled out of the problem. And that's what you got to do. You got to take the information take all the relevant information and physically build an equation, right? Well, I think starting with this idea of these numbers here, right? Starting with those totals. Number 4. We know that he bought 4 total items. We don't know what combination got him there, but we know that he bought some number of jeans and some number of t-shirts, and all totaled, he got 4 things. He went to the counter with 4 things in his arms, right? X plus Y equals 4. Right? So we've used the 4. Right? Well, what about that 100? How did he get to spending $100? Well, again, we don't know what he spent his money on in terms of how many jeans or how many t-shirts. But we're going to check that off too. However many jeans he got, that was $40 for every pair toward that total of 100. And then however many t-shirts he got, that was $20 per t-shirt toward that total of 100. So now we have our system. We know we bought 4 things, and that was X plus Y equals 4. And then he spent $100, and that was $40 a pair of jeans and $20 a t-shirt. So, okay, now we're solving. And this is one where I've got X's, I've got Y's. I could go either way with this. I could say I'm going to do elimination or substitution. I'm actually going to do elimination. I'm going to take this whole top one and I'm going to multiply everything by 40. And that's going to give me over here 40x plus 40y equals 160. And then I'm going to bring the other one just along for the ride because I've got 40x plus 20y equals 100. Right. Create what you want. I like using elimination whenever I can because it makes easier work of later steps in the problem. And what I created by multiplying this top one by 40 is x terms that are identical. If they're the same, like they are here, 40x and 40x, that's what I want to eliminate. I want to eliminate the x's. I'm going to eliminate it using subtraction. So 40x minus 40x, that's 0. I'm not even going to put anything over there. 40y minus 20y is 20y. And 160 minus 100 is 60. Well, I'm liking what I'm seeing because if I divide both sides by 20, y is equal to 3. I know that he bought 3 t-shirts. I still have to figure out how many pairs of jeans he bought, but now that I know that y is equal to 3, I can take that top equation, x plus not y, but 3, and set it equal to 4, so x is going to equal 4 minus 3, or 1. So he bought 3 pairs. He bought 1 pair of jeans, 1 pair of jeans, and 3 t-shirts. You could leave this as an ordered pair, but usually word problems get word answers. So if they're asking for how many shirts and how many pairs of jeans, your answer should probably include those phrases, shirts and jeans, right? So, but that's using all the information from the problem, thinking in terms of what are my variables, what am I looking to solve for, what is all the information, what roles do all the information play, right? Creating the system and then solving it however you want, solving it in whatever way that the system presents to you. That's what you should be doing, right? So we're going to get plenty of practice doing this because this is a real important skill. This is a really important skill to be able to do this, to be able to set up the systems that get solved, right? So next time we meet, whenever that might be, we're going to get plenty of practice with this in class. Please try your hand at some of the practice work that I've provided, and please let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this helped.